No, no, no. That turns by itself. It won't stretch out wire very much. Sir, they're good.
That is also. I'm not even working.
Guys, can you shift that side?
Good morning,
Audio
friends.
is coming through.
First, apologies for starting this late, and just shows that the room is opening up and we are having increasing traffic. That's welcome you all, and very happy to have Kiran with us. In fact, this is the first time even I'm seeing here, right? So I would love to know as much as you guys want to know. Just an introduction to what we do here, Kiran. Right? So, whole objective of what we do here is to make the brightest students become entrepreneurs. Right? So, in EVL and co-create, we believe that the best thing that can happen to this country is when some of our brightest students become entrepreneurs. They pick up quite a complex problems, right, and solve them very well and have aspirations of building global companies. Right? So, most of them whom you are seeing here and also those who are joining us online are still students, right? Maybe in their eighth sem, but they are still students, right? So, but they are entrepreneurs first and students second, right? So there are a lot more of entrepreneurs than the typical students. They can pretty much understand your market sizing or unit economics or whatever you want to call it, right? So these are the students who have refused to go for campus recruitment and then have decided to build their own business. Uh, so this is a culture that you will start seeing a lot more in India, and very happy and proud of the fact that this started here. So this is pretty much introduction to what we are here. We would love to know more about you. And let's start with a quick introduction about yourself. Right? So you are from Infi to all the stories that you have.
Hello everybody, good morning. And Suresh said, I want to apologize first for being late. And as everybody says, India is a country where everybody is in a hurry, but nobody is on time. So, and that happened to me as well. Right? So first off, please accept my sincere apologies. Although I want to start on a positive note, but I wanted to apologize. About myself, before I start, I want to thank my good old buddy, Mr. Chetan. So he's the bridge between Suresh and you all to be for bringing me here. Literally, actually, this morning he picked me up from my sister's place. But competitors, because I used to be an avid quizzer and so was he. And the essay writing or oration, oratory, speech competition. So we were always as on the opposite side, never to be agreeing on anything. But today I feel proud of him, what he has done and what he is able to do with you all. So proud of you all. So take a moment to pat on me back. Being a student is a lifelong journey. I'm a student today. One of the books that I just acquired is Modi at 20, so I'm going to read that on my way back while I fly back. So that's you're a student for life. But more importantly, entrepreneurship is also a journey. Like a student and learning is a journey, entrepreneurship is also learning, and day in day out you're improvising on something or other. So a little bit about myself. Like everybody, I'm an engineer by qualification, electronics and communication, but never did a thing on electronics. So be ready for rapid improvisation. You start with something and the journey takes you somewhere. Be open to that, first thing. And secondly, a college where I studied did not have campus and such that you got as privilege. And this year happens to be the 25th year of me being passing out of the college. So there is a 25-year anniversary that's going to happen later this month, later next month, July actually. So coming out, the only pet peeve I had was Andrew S. Tannenbaum. I don't know if you guys know this book, Computer Networks, if any of you. So that was my pillow for most of my 8th semester. So that was the only thing I remember from my 8th semester. And reading about networks, the TDMA, the CDMA, the GSM, which were still concepts, were my pet peeve. So I entered. What's that? No, for me, it was an elective in itself actually. So mine was a government college where nothing was structured. It was the only. There were only 2 government colleges outside of NIT. One was UBC, mine was UBD in Tamil.
Okay.
So there were only 2 government-run colleges at the time. So, and going into computer networks was my passion. So that was the only thing. Internet was still a term. This is 97 actually. I became a computer network engineer, designing network, designing LAN, WAN, and then multi-location networks and such. But that was very monotonous. Like everything, you feel that this is what I want to do, and the journey takes you some further distance. But then you realize this, you're not cut out for it, because network is network. It will always have the same components. It will always have the same security issues, and it will always look like as if you are template driven and you want to do something else along with it. So self-taught myself coding, because electronics and communication, this programming in C was the only book. Pala Guru Swami, if you guys again remember anything about it, right? So had to teach myself coding, and then got into an interview with Infosys and worked with them for 18 years continuously from that point on. And then again, as life would have it, you never want to settle too long in one place, because you want to have that, the risk compared to yourself. 18 years was already longer than I thought. But I call myself doing 3 PhDs in Infosys actually, because I worked 6 years in each groups where I worked, and I feel myself that I have secured a PhD in the group before moving on to something else. So be unsettling. Never be comfortable in one domain or technology for too long. Thinking you are going to gain a lot of depth in it, do get it. But anything more than 5 years, start thinking about, am I doing the right thing for my past, preparing myself for the future. So always think about having those interventions. So as luck would have it, again, I'm in banking for the most part, retail banking, digital transformation and such. So after about 18 years being with Infosys, I moved out to work for a banking firm, Bank of America to be precise. I worked with them for about 5 years again. And then now currently I'm a co-founder of a startup, so I'm also learning. Every day is a new day. Every day is like, when I was looking at the canvas, I was thinking, okay, there was a time I did this myself, not too far in the past. So I was just looking at those. So that's about my journey from professional, starting from my education. And currently I'm a CTO and a co-founder of a voice AI startup, where we are too early, pre-product, if you will. So I'm sure I can connect with a lot of you. And we have done some revenue, but at the same time, as I said, we don't want to do revenue for the revenue sake. We want to build a product that is really up for going at a global scale and in voice and language space, so which is very, very complex. I'm sure I can bore you with stuff on that later on, but yeah, I'll pause here.
Okay. Kiran, that's a great introduction, right? But I can assure you that none of them will feel it as boring. Right? Once you start talking about voice AI, right? In fact, let me plug in, right? We have a common, just to tell you the kind of students that we see here, right? So, for example, we have a team which is working on zero collateral crypto lending platform, right? So, that company pretty much summarizes the amount of exposure students today have in terms of finance. Just want to ask you, how many of you have your own stock or crypto portfolio here? Right? So, roughly what I have estimated is in this college, at least 60-70% of them will have their own portfolio of stocks and cryptos. Right? So, in fact, some of my friends, kids who went to US were feeling bad that they can't have a crypto because they are on F1 visa and they can't have the stock. Right? So, I think the reason why I even mentioned it is, right, so the kind of exposures, the kind of ambitions, the kind of aspirations, and probably even the kind of things that they want to do is much different from probably what we were. Right? So, a great experience for them in our business. But what I would really love to hear from you is just explain, I mean, spend some time about the startup that you are doing. Why did you pick up that problem? Right? And I mean, it's extremely okay to get slightly more in terms of technology there.
Yeah.
Right? If you can just share your experience in terms of why did you pick up that problem? What are the technology stacks that you worked on? Right? So how did you go about building your first prototype, etc. Right? That will be extremely useful to them. Probably what they may lack today is the discipline and some of the processes that Valley sees, which we may not be.
So again, a little bit of storytelling before getting into the startup. So how many of you do banking while going into a banking center or a physical location? Does anybody visit a banking center at all? In the last 6 months, let's say. Let's put a time duration so that it is fine. But did you have a good experience while being? Anybody having a very good experience saying, wow, made my day. Anything like that? No, right? So, and it's not any different in the US. You go to a banking center, you wait, you have a concierge, somebody greets you, somebody does something, they make you wait. And it's like the most technologically advanced part of the world still having the same archaic processes. And the only way you can talk to somebody is by calling a customer service number, which is also very frustrating. How many of you have called a customer service number and waited for at least 5 minutes in the last 6 months? Was that good? I mean, 5 minutes. You guys want instant gratification like turning off light or on off. Right? I mean, that's what you want as answers at your fingertips, but nobody can give you that. So this was 2013 when I was working at Bank of America, where we started on this journey of saying, what can we do to automate some of the banking operations? Say a call center, right? An average wait time for a call center in the US today for financial services industry is 17 minutes. So think about the productivity lost during work time when such a thing happens. So we were thinking about what do we do? And well, as life would have it, Amazon came with Alexa. And Alexa was a concept, it was not ready even. It is still, I don't know how many people productively use saying Alexa is a useful productivity tool for me. It's an entertainment, it's a question and answer, it's a search, it's a glorified search at the end of the day. Right? But does that do something like, oh, I want to plan this event and I want Kiran to be picked up from Uber and I want him to be dropped here, I want him to be alerted, this is the location to come. Alexa cannot do any of it. It can only answer one thing when you ask something. Remind me, set a reminder for 10 a.m. Right? That's all it can do, or it can do a little more. Amazon has been trying to crack it for a long time. And we were thinking, what can we do? Can we do banking as if we would do talk to Alexa? And banking is all about balance, money movement, bill payments, and maybe some sales and service. It's nothing beyond that. Nobody would go say, oh, today I'm going to do some banking. It's not like job, right? So we started thinking about how do we do this more embedded into the lives of the people who bank with us. And embedding as in, I don't want to say I carve out 2 hours of my day to do banking. It should be everywhere and it's invisible. It's everywhere but invisible. That's how banking is right now. I mean, you can ask balance even Alexa at some time and so on. So we wanted, this is few years back, and we want to see what we could do. And we started almost running like a hackathon inside the firm. So that came to be like, okay, we'll build our own language interaction so that the calls that come to the contact center are diverted. Anything you have, you will make a 100 number, sit there for 20 minutes, and somebody shows up, and your customer satisfaction dies, no sleep, and it's always the negative. Right? So we started thinking about what can we do, why we want to do language-based interaction, and how can we do it. And that was much before what we see as chatbots today, much before the haptics, the yellow, the skit, which are very famous, all the unicorns or unicorns based out of here. This was much before. And a core team was formed to build an entire end-to-end language component for banking. And whenever you want to do language, you have a dictionary of terms, it's very finite. But at the same time, people don't speak the same thing. Not their language, not their accent. My language and choice of words is very different from somebody for doing the same purpose. Right? So how do we build something which is agnostic to the end user's way of interacting, but still be able to achieve what they want to achieve in that moment? They want to send money to their daughter. And daughter is not a term that a bank would understand because they don't know the relationships. They know people with their names with the customers inside the bank. But how do you build something which is more agnostic to such interaction? So that journey was like a genesis of my startup, which is you start with and you feel that you have gained enough depth to go and explore something else somewhere else. So I built that knowledge on language, on interaction, customer behavior, and such. Now, kind of bringing that into another domain, in this case, hospitality. So my startup called UX Labs, UX stands for Human Experience, is focused on hospitality at the moment. It can, the use cases we are building could be elaborated into other industry domains, but current focus for us is hospitality. So what we are doing is, just to give you a picture of how a day in the life of a typical American in the US is. Somebody starts their day at 6 a.m., they drive to a Starbucks, and they don't get down from their car. There will be a microphone on the outside in the periphery. You speak out what you want to order, and somebody prepares that food inside, and you drive to a window where you make the payment and take the food and drive. So that whole concept is drive-through, which is not very feasible here, obviously, for known reasons. Although it is possible on a highway outside the city, but not inside. There, it's omnipresent. It's there everywhere. Locations run 24/7, and they are plagued with labor condition issues in the recent post-pandemic. During the pandemic, first thing was closures because people could not come inside to buy, and locations which did not have drive-thrus ended up closing. So the genesis of the idea was how do we bring the natural interaction to place order for food where there is no human interaction but an agent, almost think of like talking to your Alexa, but actually for placing food order. If you go to a Starbucks or a coffee day or a third day, you will not go and say, I want something. It's going to be some exotic name which is multiple words and it is multiple size, and you will have add-ons and variables of the same product. So a typical Starbucks location in the US has product combinations of over 300,000, which means some product could be warm, some cannot be warm, some have to be served cold. So when somebody asks something wrong, you need to be able to understand, no, this product cannot be warm. It is only served cold. So that complexity in language, how humans interact, is very different. And bring in the idea of a multicultural city like San Francisco or Toronto in North America, in Canada, where there is language plethora of choices of accent, it just multiplies the complexity. So what we are doing is really building that robust machine learning pipeline, which can understand in a nimble form, which is you don't need cloud computing, you don't need to kind of push the entire audio stream into a cloud environment and add a few seconds to say I will process it and then come back. It's not going to work. So what we have done is we are building it in a small PC. Think about almost like a mini PC which is headless. It does not have anything. It just has a processor, a storage, and a RAM, and can do all of it in a very small compute environment. So the constraints are language is a constraint, spoken language and consumer behavior is a constraint. Hardware is a constraint, networking is a constraint. You impose all of these design constraints to build a product, it just makes it a lot more complex. It's not like none of them will saying, okay, I'm going to have a GPU and terabytes of data and run some machine learning algorithm on it to spit out some data as an outcome. Here we have imposed a lot of constraints. That's why I said we don't want to do product and sales for the sake of it. We still kind of doing our work and pruning our models so that they are able to do what we are promising our customers to do. So I hope it gives a picture, and happy to answer any questions around this particular topic.
Kiran, before I pass it up to you, I have two generic questions.
Sure.
normally this is a question that most of them keep facing. One is you have a tech stack which is fairly horizontal. The first question that we normally ask ourselves is how do you benchmark it? How do you know that you have built a great technology? So what are the metrics that you want to benchmark? Right? So because at the end of the day, in the early stage, it's your tech stack that's buying the attraction. So how do you measure yourself and how do you communicate? This is the first question. Second question, which is even more complex for many of us, is because what you have built is a horizontal product, right? So there is you are always loaded into different industries, right? Why hospitality? Why not travel? Why travel? Why not social sector? Why social sector? Why not salons? Right? So this is a never-ending list of use cases that keeps coming to you, and in a country like yours, each one is easily $1 billion market, or probably tens of billions of dollar market. Right? So how do you, given a tech stack, how did you, I mean, of course, finance was obvious because you understood that pretty well. And why did you decide to move away from finance to hospitality, or how do you choose your next industry, right? These are the two questions. Afterwards, I think I'll just.
Sure. Yeah, let me first talk about the benchmark. So, first and foremost, if you think about the years like 2005 to 2010, it was all about web pages and browsers. And everybody used to say anything more than 3 seconds, people will go. And if you go to Meesho or if you go to Flipkart and say today the page loads after 9 seconds, who's going to wait for that? Your attention span is now less than of a goldfish, as they say it now. So a goldfish has an attention span of about 3 to 4 seconds, and humans have less than that. Because your mind is continuously looking for some display form factor of some kind. If it is not TV, it's your laptop. It's not laptop, your mobile phone. If not that, it's your Apple Watch. It's not that, it's something else. So you have attention span under 3 to 4 seconds. But fast forward to today, from the web page to the mobile, now the modality of interactions have become more complex and different. You wouldn't interact, if you're driving in the car and you want to call mom, you're going to say call mom. You're not going to say I'm going to go through my address book, scroll down to M and then say I'll click that. Right? So that modality didn't even exist in 2010. So depending on the modality, your response time and your expectation by the consumer to interact with those digital tools and platforms you build is changing very fast. And fast forward to my world, it's all about word error rate and other metrics that are very standard in language. Because if I say something saying, I want half an hour, I will not say anything. I want a half an hour iced tea. What is half an hour? It doesn't mean anything in English if you look at it in a grammatically right way. It is an hyphenated word, half an hour. But then if you look at it in that domain, it means something. Right? Can the system understand those nuances of the language? Right? So, and I give this as an example. The word soda is not called as soda everywhere in the US. The word soda is almost used differently in different parts. In certain parts, it's called pop. I want a pop. What is a pop? The domain and the platform offering, whether it's a pay, whether it's a modality which is multimodal, whether you are actually interacting in the mixed reality world, it's going to, I mean, you're going to be interacting with the avatars and such. So the modality is going to be even more complex. Today, that doesn't exist because of the massive computing requirements. But it's not going to be, it's not science fiction. In the next few years, it's going to. You're going to interact with avatars of some physical person because let's say your team member is somewhere else, but you want to sit and go work with them. It's going to happen. He's already doing it on Oculus headset where you don't need to sit physically next to each other, but then you put your Oculus headset, but you're actually working on a common table. Everything is there. You have your phone access in the companies like that. So depending on the modality, depending on the platform and the performance metrics are drastically good. And to answer your question, Suresh, about why retail, why hospitality, why not something else? One thing is, I've spent so much time in banking and I wanted to put myself at risk to learn something new. So that was more, as I gave us an earlier example, entrepreneurship is also a student. You are a student of for life. It's a gift. And learning for your business, your own brainchild, and really doing it as a business, economics are whole different. So how do you unsettle yourself to just focus on the industry? So it was almost like 5 to 6 months I was not doing anything. I was just reading and studying. I was away from work. That's not like mine. But it takes some bit of unsettling yourself to go after that kind of mindset to say, I want to learn something. I want to find where I can make a dent in that part of the world. So retail, for obvious reasons, is like anything outside healthcare and finance. Retail is an industry. Healthcare is high investment and opportunities. So I chose retail because I felt like understanding the regulatory landscape is going to take another 6 months of study. So this was a little more accessible in terms of really entering the space. And I took the knowledge from the language that I was, and I was trying to see what are the use cases for something like this in retail. And that was the start of the journey. Feel free, and this is very casual. I'm learning as much as you are, I'm learning as well.
Someone who also have a
Sure.
So, I mean, because you're also into angel investing, okay? And
Yeah.
just give us some angel, right? And what are the opportunities that you see as an angel?
So, my interest in angel investing has been more centered in India. That's how I started because having been away from the roots, it is always like what can you make and impact. And first and foremost was agriculture, followed by tech, followed by fintech as an area of focus because that was my domain. Micro lending, or for that matter, some of this payment aspects of faster payments and so on. So it started with agriculture. More so, how can somebody in a remote area build a full thriving agricultural landing like less water but still get yield of a good way. So we started with hydroponics as an area actually in North Carolina. That was my first investment. Although it was a learning, I wouldn't say it was investing for the sake of saying how much exit multiples will I get. It was not definitely that. And it was a learning phase for both the founders and myself. We did end up learning a lot and they started something else and I'm still associated with them. But it started with social impact and then followed by more focus on education. Again, you get world-class education here, go 100 kilometers away from here. Do you think you can get at least 25% of this? Nobody 100 kilometers away from Bangalore. You go to a village, not a village, even a travel you cannot get the quality of education. So how do you ensure that there is some semblance of the equivalent, if not the same? How do you get? So I got involved with some startups in Hubli area actually, and Mysore for education. So which is hands-on and experience-based learning. How do you bring, you learning if not having those touch and feel doing experiments? How can you do those? Can you do simulations? Can you do 3D on an Android app? Can you do simulations saying, if I have a pendulum and I pull the string this far, how can you calculate and predict and then say, okay, this is how it really works? Because they don't have a pendulum in the lab in the school. So I started with that as an area because it was more social impact. But at the same time, EdTech, again, I don't want to talk about the ones on the t-shirts that always show up here, the ones who are always controversial. But in education, healthcare, and these areas are a must need here, along with energy and power generation, alternative energy sources, and so on. So that was my second best interest, which is into education space. Followed by some fintech. Again, I didn't want to do a domain which I'm very keen on. The need here is very different. And I keep telling this. Today I can go to a tender coconut merchant and then buy it using Paytm. But as an NRI, I cannot do it. Because those are regulated markets. I have to pay cash and the guy will look at me saying, which village are you from? You still use cash. Yeah, I have to use cash because of the regulatory. This medical tourist comes from North America here and he is going to pay using Paytm or Google Pay. They cannot do it. So how do we look at this fiction as an opportunity was another area that I started looking at, and that kind of drove me into many different areas, including AR, VR, and other domains also. But that's been my pet peeve as far as industry domains. So those are the high level areas or domains that I focus on. But if there is something interesting, somebody introduced again almost from Chetan to somewhere another interaction, drug discovery using AI, right? So anything AI, yes, read on please, right? I'm open, I'm all ears. But at the same time, you know, I'm taking the risk of investing a few into such startup requires a little bit of ground due diligence, understanding the domain and how much of a future it has for the domain here in India or
There is one company which is doing drug discovery.
experimentation saying this drug will it work for this person based on their drugs for each one personalized for their needs, and that's the only way. Definitely the future as an area. Yeah.
So friends, any questions or you want to take it up one?
So I have a question.
Yeah.
I remember you were talking about this banking startup in the US. It sounds very kindred, but you know, they got into this banking kind of thing. Which one was that? Some now the Italian, Croatian kind of. If you could just throw light on that. Probably, you know, from a branding perspective, how we could, you know, relate and.
Yeah. So this is a company spin-off. They are big again, it looks like. So I don't want to take their name right now because they had an Italian CEO who was going through some rebranding. But they are from live chat. If you guys know live chat, the term live chat is overused in any digital interaction. But live chat started that as a like more like how can we make banking fun? I mean, nobody likes banking for the sake of banking. It's not fun at all. I mean, transfers, payments, opening new products, sales and service of mortgage or your car and loans and so that's never fun. Add to the mix the industry, it's more regulated. But who is to be blamed? Nobody can be blamed. It is required to de-risk the business. Like more, if I interact with somebody saying I'm sending 1,000 rupees, can I make that a fun interaction? Live chat is a very old company. It's a publicly listed company. But they wanted to do more like, today is Akshay Tritiya, and I want to randomly give to somebody 100 rupees. You will not know who it went to, but in that community, it's going to go to somebody who they know is in a close to a overdraft, right? So that is a random gifting. So that is how they want to bring that camaraderie and fun into the banking aspect. It's almost like a piggy bank you just put into and it's not going to a charitable trust or anything, it is going to an individual actually who they think algorithmically is in need of the money or seeing some shortfall in his funds because they anticipate a big payment that's going to come and they may go into overdraft. Overdraft fee is not a legal requirement anymore in the US. Most of the banks have taken it away. But still, negative is a negative. It personally impacts that individual. So they want to bring those kind of things. I can go on again talking about fintech, payments, crypto, eliminate friction for technology. It cannot be just localized. You open your phone in the morning, tell me one app that you use every day that's built by somebody here. I mean, it's like you open Flipkart, okay, it's 50% Walmart. You open Amazon, it's not. You keep doing that. What I'm saying is, this is a big industry. People fly, people come from other parts of the world. Can they go to a tender coconut merchant and buy one coconut without paying cash? Everybody here can do it, but not them. Right? It's a friction for them. Is that an industry to focus? May not be, because unit economics will not work, but that's the kind of thing that you guys should look at, saying, instead of saying, oh, this is the next unicorn idea to do, start with the friction. How do I eliminate the friction? I'm sure that's what you write in your canvas, but really putting that into practice. The canvas is a good way, but whenever you start with your idea, wherever you are in your journey of starting your business or entrepreneurship journey, think about that more and take more time in really doing that research.
this. Thanks a ton, Kiran. I think it was a great introductory session. What we will do is we'll branch it.
Sure.
And we'll have some one-to-one.
Sure.
And then take it. Friends, hope you guys enjoyed this discussion and lot more to learn from him. And he will be around, and I'm sure we'll keep pulling him again and again. So, thanks a lot for being here. Thanks a lot.